The year was 1590. English explorer John White stood on the shores of what is now North Carolina, staring at an empty settlement where 117 men, women, and children should have been waiting for his return. Instead, he found only abandoned houses, overgrown gardens, and a single word carved into a wooden post: Croatoan. In that moment, White realized he was witnessing what would become America's oldest and most haunting mystery. 3 years earlier, in 1587, White had sailed from England as the governor of an ambitious colonial venture. His mission was to establish the first permanent English settlement in the New World, on Roanoke Island off the coast of present-day North Carolina. This wasn't England's first attempt at colonization in this region. Sir Walter Raleigh had sponsored an earlier settlement in 1585, but those colonists had already returned to England after facing harsh conditions and conflicts with local Native American tribes. White's expedition was different. This time, entire families were making the journey, including women and children, ready to build new lives in America. Among them was White's own pregnant daughter, Eleanor Dare. The symbolism was powerful. This wasn't just another military outpost or trading venture. These were people committed to creating a permanent English presence in the New World. The colonists arrived at Roanoke Island in July 1587, but almost immediately, problems arose. Supplies were running dangerously low, and tensions with nearby Native American tribes were escalating. The situation became so dire that the colonists made a difficult decision. They convinced John White to sail back to England for desperately needed supplies and reinforcements. Even though it meant leaving his daughter and newborn granddaughter behind. Before departing, White made an agreement with the colonists. If they were forced to leave Roanoke Island, they would carve their destination into a tree or post. If they were in distress, they would add a cross above the message. On August 27, 1587, White set sail for England, promising to return as quickly as possible. He had no idea it would be 3 long years before he saw Roanoke Island again. White's planned quick return became a nightmare of delays. England was at war with Spain, and every available ship was needed to defend against the Spanish Armada. Month after month, White fought to secure passage back to his family and the colonists he had left behind. The guilt and anguish of the delay consumed him, but there was nothing he could do. Finally, in 1590, White managed to join a privateering expedition headed for the Caribbean. The ship's captain agreed to make a detour to Roanoke Island, though White sensed the man's reluctance. When they finally reached the familiar shores on August 18, 1590, White's heart raced with anticipation and dread. What he found defied his worst fears and his greatest hopes. The settlement was completely deserted. Houses stood empty, their doors hanging open. Personal belongings were scattered about, but there were no signs of violence or struggle. The colonists had clearly had time to pack and organize their departure. But where had they gone? Then White discovered the message carved into the wooden post: Croatoan. There was no cross above it, which should have meant the colonists weren't in immediate danger when they left. Croatoan was the name of a nearby island, now known as Hatteras Island, where a friendly Native American tribe lived. The Croatoan people had maintained good relations with earlier English expeditions. White was desperate to sail immediately to Croatoan Island, but fate had other plans. A violent storm arose, and the ship's anchor cables snapped. The captain, already eager to leave, refused to risk his ship and crew any longer. Despite White's pleas and protests, they sailed away from Roanoke, leaving the mystery unsolved. John White never returned to America. He spent his remaining years in Ireland, haunted by the disappearance of his family and the colonists he had promised to protect. The fate of the lost colony of Roanoke became his obsession and his torment until his death around 1593. So what happened to the 117 souls of the lost colony? Theories have emerged over the centuries, each more intriguing than the last. Some historians believe the colonists integrated with the Croatoan tribe, intermarrying and adopting Native American customs. Archaeological excavations on Hatteras Island have uncovered English artifacts from the late 16th century, lending credence to this theory. Others suggest the colonists attempted to sail back to England on their own and were lost at sea. Still another theory proposes they tried to reach the Chesapeake Bay area, where Raleigh had originally planned to establish the colony, but were killed or captured along the way. More controversial theories point to evidence of European ancestry among certain Native American tribes in the region. Some Lumbee Indians of North Carolina have family names that match those of the lost colony settlers, and early European explorers reported encountering Native Americans with gray eyes and light-colored hair in areas far from Roanoke. Recent archaeological work has uncovered tantalizing clues. Excavations at sites on Hatteras Island and on the mainland have revealed European artifacts buried in layers dating to the late 1500s. These discoveries suggest the colonists may have dispersed to multiple locations, trying to survive in small groups rather than staying together. The mystery of Roanoke reflects the brutal realities of early colonial life. These weren't experienced explorers or hardened soldiers. They were families seeking opportunity in an unknown land, facing challenges they could never have imagined. Their disappearance serves as a haunting reminder of the courage and desperation that drove ordinary people to risk everything for the promise of a new beginning. Today, over 4 centuries later, the lost colony of Roanoke continues to captivate historians, archaeologists, and mystery enthusiasts. Modern technology and renewed interest have brought fresh perspectives to this ancient puzzle, but definitive answers remain elusive. Perhaps that's fitting. In a world where few mysteries endure, the lost colony reminds us that some stories resist easy explanations. Somewhere in the coastal waters and ancient forests of North Carolina, the truth about 117 vanished souls waits to be discovered, keeping alive America's oldest and most enduring mystery.